Hi, I hope you're all really well. So at this time of year, I always get so many questions about kids starting school and food and meals and how it's all going to work together. I know a lot of parents do have concerns about different meals or how kids are going to eat at school, how it's going to work with school lunches, packed lunches, all of that. So I thought I would share my top tips when it comes to food for kids starting school this September. So number one is breakfast. Now, at the moment, because it's summer holidays, my kids are quite late risers. They're not having breakfast till quite late. So for the last couple of weeks of the summer holidays, I would recommend trying to get them into a bit of a routine that's kind of going to match how life is going to be in September. So maybe getting them up a little bit earlier in the morning, getting them to eat their breakfast quite quickly after they get up so that they're kind of getting used to that time constraint of getting up, getting dressed, having breakfast, getting out the door. It just means that it's not going to be such a shock to them and to you come September. A second tip is in relation to a mid-morning snack. Now, if your school allows you to bring a snack in for your child mid-morning, I would suggest you do that at least to start with, because the time between when they have their breakfast and when they sit down for lunch in school can be really long. It can be like maybe 5 hours. For a young child, that's a really, really long time. So if your school allows it, do bring a snack. Now, different schools will have different rules, but most schools will allow you to bring some chopped fruit, some chopped veg, maybe a portion of cheese, like a little Baby Bell portion. And a lot of schools as well will allow kind of a healthy oat bar, granola bar type of thing. So do check with your school, see what you can bring and send something in just to bridge that gap between breakfast and lunch. So lunch then itself does pose probably the most questions I get from parents is about school lunches or packed lunches. There are ways you can get your child prepared for school lunches. So get them as independent as possible in these last few weeks. Get them kind of serving food themselves. Get them carrying their plate to and from the table so they get used to that. Most kids very quickly will have to carry their own tray. A lot of schools will have some older children helping them, but because of these kind of new times and not allowing classes to mix, we don't actually know how that's going to work come September. So just try to get your child as independent as possible. Also with cutlery, try to make sure that they can at least use cutlery, you know, to cut their food, to separate it up. So even just like a basic level of ability of using the knife to cut food will be fantastic, and it will just mean that they're a lot more independent when it comes to lunchtime in September. If you decide to use packed lunches instead for your child, my tip for that would be to make them as easy as possible to open. There are so many fantastic lunch boxes on the market, but not all of them are easy for children to actually open and to operate. So make sure that they can open them. If there's any inserts, that they're easy to pull apart. Basically, just make it as easy as possible for your child to get to their food, because there won't be a lot of people around to help them. There will be some helpers, they won't be totally by themselves, but again, you're just trying to make them as independent as possible. Also foods like so some fruits like satsumas, for example, I would always recommend that you pre-peel them and just put the segments into the lunchbox, because you just want to create almost like a frictionless lunch for them, so there's more chance they're going to eat that food if they're already peeled and just ready to go. When it comes to after school then, it's very likely that your child will be so hungry when they come out of school. A full day of learning and mental stimulation, it's a lot for them. So do have some kind of snack ready, you know, when they come home, or if you've got a car journey, maybe to have in the car. Something that has maybe carbs, slow release carbs, some protein, some fats will always be fantastic. So if you can make some homemade muffins or cookies or oat bars that have maybe oats and peanut butter, that will be really fantastic. You're covering all the main food groups. You want to fill them up, but you don't want to fill them up too much, because you want them to be hungry for dinner basically. So then when it comes to dinner time, again, my tip in relation to that would be to feed them as early as possible. So if you can feed them even at like 4 or 4:30, that's fantastic. If you need to feed them later, that's fine. But the earlier you can feed them, the better, especially in the first few weeks. The reason is they're just going to be so tired. They're going to be so overstimulated. They're going to be physically exhausted from starting school. And once kids get overtired, their appetite will go. They just won't want to eat. So the earlier you can feed them, the better, and the more chance that you're going to get all those lovely, delicious, nutritious meals that you're cooking actually into them. So I hope those tips help. If you have any questions in relation to food and your kids starting school, just let me know. If you have tips yourself, please do pop them in the comments below. It's always great to hear your own tips and tricks, and otherwise I will see you soon.